Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy Award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla. This episode recapping week 2 of November 2023. Chris, good to see you as always. We finally we'll start right with it, the Bert cruise. The cruise we've been hearing about for months. We knew it was going to be awesome. It looked awesome. Did Jim have an awesome time?
It's hard to tell. Yeah, he did look forward to it, and I think he did have an enjoyable time. But I think Jim was most impressed that he had a king-size bed when he got to his stateroom. He was happy about that. And that they bought the Wi-Fi so that they could use a Wi-Fi. So I've been on a cruise before. I've only been on one. I think you probably want to invest more in just having fun and relaxing and maybe, unplugging from the world. But hey, that's what he and his wife do. And so that's fine. So yeah, I'm not sure if he did. Did he have fun with the rest of the comedians? I don't know. You tell me.
I think he did with the comics. Like he listed off all the people he loves seeing, like Miss Pat. It sounds like a riot there. Mark Norman, but a lot of them are younger and drink and like that's their life. I think he discovered, and I've never been on a cruise. We're talking about maybe doing a Disney one in the future, but I think he discovered that he's just not a cruise guy. Like he doesn't like to be like, even if it's on a moving vessel, he doesn't like to be captivated anywhere. And he. I guess what was it where were they going? To the Bahamas, where he just kind of sat in a fenced in area to get back on the boat.
They
explore.
Their whole thing got kind of screwed up by the weather, so of course that had Jim probably nervous as well. But they made it to Atlantis, I think, as a hotel there, and they really enjoyed their time there. And then they, Jim's just a little insecure, I think. Just like most comedians and comics are, they have this kind of odd personality outside of performing, and they had a little bit of an event during the group photo. You want to share with people on how that group photo went down?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. He just he didn't know what to do in the photo, right?
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was who the other comedian was, or just socially awkward. Like if you look at the photos, like Jim's kind of in the back, just not happy, so I don't know if it was a great experience for him. I'm glad he did it. He said he'd go on another one if he's performing in a group like this, but for his vacation, he and Nikki are probably not going to do it.
I think you're right. It sounds like he did enjoy the food. Speaking of food, we had a nice recap of Sam's Halloween this week, and you all know the Good House in your neighborhood growing up. Sam found one where you could pick 5 full-size candy bars. They had a sign that you could pick 5, and Sam thought that applied to him as well. He got himself some 5, which I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. It's not like that crazy family that's just kind of shuffling through, stealing all the candy on that ring cam. And is that the same house with the Pick 5 that also had liquor for the adults?
So they had the treats for the kids and for the grown-ups. Yeah, they had like beer and White Claws, and Sam just said that they had a ton in the cauldron, just a ton of candy bars in there. And they're a very wealthy family, so they shared the love on that. So that's a good Halloween for sure.
I think so. And speaking of holidays and holiday traditions, Sam started talking about Mr. Roberts, and now we have a visual and we know what he's like on the show when he's brought up, and I love it. He's a part of the show now. And I guess Mr. Roberts would read the lengthy Bible verse that is the Christmas story, which is always nice to hear. I mean, if that's your religion, I enjoy hearing it at church. And I think, my mom is the daughter of a Baptist minister. I'm sure we grew up, and I kind of remember hearing her or somebody read that story at a lot of Christmases. So it's kind of nice. I can picture Mr. Roberts reading it with everybody gathered around, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did all the other ones too, and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and all the other things. But they end with the Bible's story of Christmas. And Jim was giving Sam grief. Sam was making fun of it too, but Sam said he will torture his children with it when his dad does eventually pass and keep the tradition alive. So you got to love that. We talked about it. I don't know if I mentioned it to you specifically on the podcast, but my dad used to do this tradition of we all walk down, there's 7, I have 7 brothers and sisters, all walk down the stairs in age order. So youngest to oldest, every Christmas before you go and open your presents, and he'd film it back then. I torture my children with that all the time, walking down the steps and videotaping them before they go open their presents. So traditions are nice to have, right?
Yeah, they made you guys enter like the Von Trapp family.
There you go.
Nice. I like it. Speaking, I shouldn't say like. Jim did not like. Jim actually, I believe, used the word hated the strike zone box. And I know we talk sports sometimes. You watch a lot of sports. They changed it recently, right? It's bigger. I feel like it's bigger and you see it more.
I don't know how much it's bigger. I do know they do some animations afterwards, like they'll show that at bat and they'll show where the ball missed and where it hit inside the zone. But it's been there for a while. It doesn't really bother me. But boy, he absolutely hates it. But he brought up a good point. And I'll give him this: that if they used it to kind of critique some of the umpires, and said, okay, this is where you're missing, and then fired some of these bad guys, because Jim made a great point. They're hurting these guys' careers. If these bad umps are calling wrong balls and strikes, guys strike out. And the difference between, hitting 200 and hitting 300 is a couple at bats. It's crazy. So
yeah. Or when you get demoted, AAA, or in another city, you get traded. Like it's everyone's lives, and some of them have families. So yeah, it's crazy. When they were talking about the Ring doorbell this week, and this is it's a very personal thing in my household. My wife, a couple years ago, I think for Christmas, for my birthday, got like one of the big like knockoff Ring cameras, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I'll use it. It's good to have that security. But then there's a very small wood panel outside our window by our front door where we would want to put the doorbell. But this thing is giant that she got me, the giant knockoff. So I can't, it's gonna be like on the window. So we can't do it. We might get a Ring. Are you a Ring guy? A Ring camera?
I actually am. Yeah. During the Amazon Prime days, when you can get all that stuff. And I think Amazon actually owns Ring cameras now. You get them at pretty good discounts. So keep your eyes out for that if you're going to upgrade from your knockoff. But yeah, I have, one on the door, one, for the doorbell, and then one that camera looks at the driveway and in the front, and then one that looks at the backyard and all that kind of stuff, just to, keep an eye on everything when I'm gone. I think my family thinks I'm obsessed about it because I'm always looking at my phone. Oh gosh, someone left, like I'm tracking them or something. But no, yeah, it's nice to have. And, it's kind of funny because I don't know if we are better off because we have all these cameras or worse off because, it seems like it's real intrusive of watching all these things. You tell me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can't just sit and watch hours of footage back to wonder. You see all these horrible videos online of people walking up to the camera and really creep you out. Unless something happens, I'm not going to watch. Look at it. My mother-in-law did show me a video. She had a full reindeer with the antlers and everything go through their yards. Stuff like that's nice, but I'm not.
Yeah, we've had coyotes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to check it all the time. But do you remember what Montone was saying about the Ring?
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I do know that Mike Feeney had a big thing on getting the Ring camera, so that kind of came up with him. But the best take, I think, was that Jim was really interested in getting the Ring camera that's actually a drone. And do you remember why he wanted it?
Yes. Well, he just doesn't have enough security,
Yeah, of course. I think he wanted it to check the flooding in his house, so it could fly around his apartment and check to see if it was flooding or not. And Sam was like, you have 13 or more surface alarms that will alarm you that, they sit on the ground and will alarm you if there's any water on the ground. And you still need this drone to fly around and check in on you. And the funniest thing is when Sam said, I would love it if you did get this drone Ring camera and it was flying around and accidentally got loose and tore up all your Kiss posters on the wall, just mutilated them, just
shreds them.
Yeah, just shreds them. He goes, I would laugh very hard because he'd have footage of it too. It's like, oh no, where's it? It's so it'd be great.
As soon as he started talking about describing this drone, and he's been on a wait list for it, or they want you have to
that was weird.
They have to invite you to buy it, and Jim's like, they're not inviting me. But I just picture it bumping into all his other actual cameras. He's just hitting all of them, bumping into each other with his drone.
He said he has cameras on closets and just to make sure. And Sam had a really funny line on there, and it kind of got absorbed. He said, Jim has the camera on his one pointing at his closet so he can see what's going on if his housekeeper's going into the closet. And Sam said, thanks to everything you've been posting on Instagram recently, now everybody else can see what you've been doing in the closet, which was very inside and funny. Line. Yeah, that
was excellent. Speaking of good lines, also from Mike Feeney, we got some roast battle talk, and they just had Jeff Ross in, the roast master general. And I have, you're a big TV guy. You might have a thought on roast versus old school roast, but I always thought that it's weird when it's a celebrity, and we know it's not their jokes. Because some comics, not all their jokes are written by themselves either.
I can
But
see your belly. I can see your
you actually
belly.
can. I just realized
No,
that.
no, no, no. I'm doing the guy.
I know, I know.
It's like,
But I mean, but
actors that aren't comedians. It just
yeah, and that's an example of someone who probably could have some jokes written for him, because Corden got him with, we could see you dying up there.
yes.
That was brutal. That was brutal. But I don't know. I think that so roaster one thing. It's better when they're friends with the actual people. That's how Jim feels about it. It's more sincere. The jokes mean more. Then you have more of a heartfelt moment kind of at the end. So the celebrity roast got a little like too ridiculous for me. And then the thing with roast battles, like I feel like they're so forced at comedy clubs now. It's like comedy has never had such a big like trend as the roasts and the roast battles. And the Laugh Factory in Chicago, something I thought was weird and I would never want to see if I'm an audience member. They roast fictional characters. Like, we're gonna roast Bowser today from Mario. Like, what? Right, Joe? Like, how mean can that possibly be?
And how funny can it be?
Your teeth's so sharp,
Yeah.
So roast. I think roasts have been a little overextended for me. And I love Jeff Ross too. I'm glad he made an empire out of it. But
We all love and I bring it up all the time, the comedy table where everybody bashes each other
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's only funny if you have this relationship with people. So like Jim is talking about, you have to be friends with this. So if you're bashing another comedian in a roast, you got to know who they are and you got to know how far you can take it. Plus, those people have to have thick skins. And, we've seen it many times where these people just don't like it and it's not working well. So
also on the show this week, we got more John Larroquette talk. I think they were talking about an actor from Night Court who passed away.
Richard Mall. Yeah, he was Bull on Night Court. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a kind of a character actor, right? And several things, I believe.
Yes, large man.
But we're having more Larroquette talk. I guess before you could blame the actors' strike. I'm not certain about that, but let's get him on the show.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's get John Larroquette in there. What else has he got better to do?
I mean, his Night Court reboot is probably not doing that well, and we haven't had a lot of actors now that the strike is over. So maybe we'll get more actors coming in and being on the show. But yeah, why not? They love Larroquette, and he actually did a stand on my favorite show on The West Wing, so I love him too.
Another guy who's been in many, many things. Speaking of people love, Jim and Sam show, big supporters, big lovers of Phil Williams, minus Jim now. We've heard Phil Williams' amazing voice, his speech pattern, whatever you want to call it. The newsman, he's in Nashville, right?
Yeah, he's out in Tennessee there for sure,
Yeah.
and he has that weird speaking tone. And we only did talk about that clerk at the store that was caught naming, just very good. Anyway, yeah. So Phil is somebody we've enjoyed, and Jim turned on him, because his take on the manifesto leak from the Nashville shooter. So I get this too with Jim. He hates how the media actually celebrates these guys in a way and makes them these deities somewhat, and letting them have their time to share all the things. Who cares what these jerks think about? And Jim's right on that for sure. And I always hate, because I've been part of the media, going, it's not me, please don't blame me.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's bad, and you're kind of part of the media too, but you're not.
Yeah, I felt that way before too. And I think it was that Phil had a problem with it leaking, and Jim's like, so what? Like, everybody's wanted it. Like, it is a news item. Like, if you had it, you would release it too. So he said he hates him, and Sam was pressing him. He said he would tell him if he was on the show, I hate you.
Yes. Jim hated a lot of things this week, that's for sure.
Yes, he did. He also hates his wife's music, what was that they were showing? That was like sound like some kind of like German music she was listening to or something.
It was like 40s, 30s, 40s kind of, music of the time, not really swing stuff, but more of that kind of stuff. And Jim mentioned that it's Hitler's Eagle's Nest 1940 music. So yeah, you can just kind of picture that Hitler would be listening to it in his Eagle's Nest there. So yeah, she has weird taste in music, man, but she's interesting and a great follow.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of like some Prohibition music, maybe here on like Boardwalk Empire.
There you go.
A great rap. This is an example of them just, mopping the floor with a great news item. The Speaker of the House and his son monitoring each other's, I guess, dirty movie intake online, which is the only way we could address it here. I mean, how bizarre, like putting that in public, and then, allowing, but I am happy they allowed Jim and Sam to just kind of go through how awkward and uncomfortable that is.
It's just really weird how they would want to know about each other and what they're watching and making sure that they don't partake in that. And it's just like, some things you just got to let, your child deal with themselves and just make sure they're safe. But the thing that really set them off is that the speaker mentioned that it was, in our household, we talk about this and that. Yes. And it's like, household, what is a house? If you and I were talking about that, we'd say, our family, and what we do in our house or in our family, and he's household. And so that really set Jim off. Is like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
And
it's like very pompous sounding. And then Jim's take on household set somebody else off. A very, very bizarre caller that I'm going to go ahead and call Larry the Jerk.
Yeah.
We're going to call him Larry the Jerk on this show. He called saying that was the issue. And then we pretty much got to the bottom of it, that this guy is not okay with Jim marrying Nikki and all that and being into all that, which like, what show are you listening to? Who do you think you're talking to? Like,
why are you listening?
But Jim bashed him. I understand why you keep him on the phone. Jim had a great back and forth with the guy just bashing him, making him sound even more foolish.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's the best at that, right? I mean, and he uses really good arguments. Like, okay, let me ask you this, and it turns out the guy's wife was a little different in beliefs than the guy is. It's like, okay, so is your wife as messed up as I am? That you're claiming that I am? There's
right.
So it's just like, let's take care of the stuff in our house first and be careful and be open-minded there, and then open your mind up to others, outside of there. And just, who cares, man? Just let people live. As long as they're not hurting you or others, let them live.
Let Jim live. Let Nikki live. The guy said, Larry said he was calling because Jim always brings up religion, always badmouths it. I think when it comes up organically, he says his opinion. He's on a radio show.
I mean, and that's the thing is it's like he never says what you do is wrong. He's saying, for me, this doesn't make sense, but do whatever you want. And he mentioned it in the call to the jerk. He said, it's okay. Whatever people want to believe in is fine with me. I don't care that, but I just, don't try to put your morals on me.
100%. Something Jim, you look at Jim's career, and he has been in a Scorsese movie. He's done all these great TV shows, and he's been in other movies. Amazing stand-up career. All the other stand-ups respect him. He still might be most proud of being in his hometown newspaper for having the high score in Asteroids, which is amazing. I love when they revisit that. I can just see a little proud Jimmy Norton with that paper, right?
Yeah, I absolutely love that story, and it's so cool because it's just like, it's perfect for Jimmy. That's exactly kind of the kid he was. And then the best part of that newspaper article is he's right next to Ozzy, and it was during the time that Ozzy allegedly bit off the head of the bat or whatever all that stuff was about. And so it was like he and his of course, the guy that he raises up above all in the paper together. And someone mentioned they should definitely get that framed and have Ozzy sign it. And he's like, I've had tons of things of Ozzy signed already. It's like, no, but that one is, you're in the paper together, 20, 30 years before you're even friends.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that too as a collector myself. I want the paper signed. Like, yeah, maybe I do. Because I have the Chicago Tribune paper from when I interviewed Mike Tyson. If I saw Tyson, I'd probably have him sign that. I knew
you for sure do that, man. You've done a lot of great things. You've talked to a lot of famous people and a lot of great people, and you should definitely, anything that you have with them, get them to sign that stuff when another opportunity.
You get some guitars signed there.
There you go.
But this whole rap on Asteroids, and I love that story, but it made me realize how much I miss video games. Like just having 3 kids and working, like, I do have a PS5, but I played the Spider-Man game a couple of years ago. The new one's supposed to be amazing. Sam's talking about it. I want to play that. There's being this awesome Wolverine game come out like next year. I think it comes out. So I gotta make a little time for video games.
I'm in the same boat, man. And my kids aren't as young as yours, but we're so busy doing other things that it's hard to really, spend time. I think I played a little bit more during the pandemic,
Oh, nice. What's your game? What's the game you like?
Well, I have an Xbox. What is it? The Xbox One. So is that the most current? I don't know. Have that. And I really, after the guys talked about it so much, and even brought up this, I wanted to try that Red Dead Redemption or whatever that is.
Great game.
Yeah. And it was cool, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of like Jim.
Part
I'm
of the
going
fun.
to back out. I'm going to back out in the garage and bash into anything. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I do like riding around on the horse and shooting things. So that was kind of cool.
Always fun. It's a good game. Troy's Google Follies were front and center, I think, for about 2 days straight this week. It is an easy job, it seems like, but when you're in that room and you know they're just going to drag you no matter what you do, one wrong click, and they're constantly kind of jumping subjects when they talk too. So I understand Troy's frustration, the panicking, but I mean, it is some of the funniest moments on the show, right?
It really is. Great. He goes ballistic when he's getting yelled at, and it's great to get old Troy back. But yeah, I mean, this came about because I think Montone was off. They said that Montone died, but he didn't. But when Montone was off, and so I think Travis had to take over running the board. So Troy took over the Google part. And what really brought it to a head is they were talking to some of the comedians, and they're talking about The Departed, the movie The Departed. Yeah. And they go, that scene with the rat, that was just too on the nose. And Troy Googled the wrong scene. He Googled the rat scene from Ant-Man. Where I think Ant-Man gets swallowed by a rat or something like that. And they were just giving him, and they just watched it happen and just made it hilarious. So
he just got lost in the conversation. He went from, because they were talking about The Departed, then they went to Marvel movies. So
he just couldn't keep up. He just was lost. And so they mentioned maybe we should do guest Googlers with comedians. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. That's just a thing. You don't want to be like too much of a contest to get too bitty, but if you have a comic in, you have like a Mike Fenian or you get Mark Norman back in to like watch them Google
give
stuff.
it a goog.
Yeah, give it a go. Sure. Give it a goog. Hold on.
Right. Well, you know who's going to do it on Monday? Cooper.
Oh.
They have assigned Cooper to do it on Monday.
I might have missed
to
that.
see. Yeah. So he's going to do it on Monday. And Troy said, well, maybe we should give him Monday and let's give him the whole week, like Monday. And I think he's in like Wednesday or Thursday, just so he can really get at it. And why they're thinking it'd be kind of funny is, he didn't know that the drummer from Nirvana went to his school. So if he's going to, have to Google something that, is old from one of, Jim and I's era references, he's going to be lost and scared. So this is going to be fun to watch.
He's going to have some follies with that. It's going to be amazing. And Coop was great this week. You could tell there's such a comfort. They love him when he's on the mic. Yeah. But it's going to go either way. Coop is going to be phenomenal. Just Google things right away. Very logically.
Still going to be fun, right?
It's going to be great. I remember Jimmy this week brought up the idea of when Carson would call comics to the couch, right?
That was always a thing, right? If you did really well, you got the invite to come over.
Careers. You were back then. You would not just headline around the country. You'd get a deal for your own show or something. It was like it made so many comics. Look at all the people in the 80s and early 90s that became like household names because of that, if they were comics. But Jim, why don't you tell Jim's idea that he would like to do, and that if he was in a position, what he would do?
It was really funny. He goes, wouldn't it be funny if after someone did the Carson show, if that was still like a thing, the comic would just walk over without being invited, sit down and say, hey, John, thanks for having me over. I mean, it's been really good. And it's like, it's very awkward because John didn't wave you over. I mean, John had to wave you over. I mean, that has to be blessed. But if you just did it on your own and went over and did that, it would be awkward. And if it wasn't accepted, right, if there was something, it'd be awkwardness about it and it'd be funny. So I could see a guy like, the guy that played Borat doing something. Yeah, Sacha Cohen doing something like that if he was a stand-up, just walking over and just sitting down and, okay, what do you want to talk about? You see
that. I don't think Johnny Carson suffered fools. It's supposed to not always be the...
that would be the last time he did the Tonight Show.
Yeah, and so this reminded me of when I used to listen to Stern, and maybe you heard him rant on this too, is he was not a Carson guy. I mean, I have so much respect for Carson, we did for people's careers, but Stern had a big issue with the whole calling over the couch. And I agree, I kind of agree with him with this, as much as I love the history of comedy and Carson, because some guys weren't getting that. And they just looked like a-holes if they didn't get, so it's like kind of like a not like, oh, King Johnny, yes, you may come. No,
the blessing.
No, you stink. Yeah. So it is a little, it could look a little rude to some
comedy. You and Howard make a valid point that, it's like, okay, what, my comedy's not good enough for Johnny? Well, it may not be his taste, but I'm still a good comedian. And then that comedian would be, judged by that. So good point.
So we have been critical in the past when Jim is out and they bring in, like, they joke about this, how much flack Ian Fidance got as a kind of like a guest co-host. We love Ian in that role. There's something there where it just kind of goes off the rails, and it's not really the show that it's not our favorite type of Jim and Sam show.
But Miguel from Jim and Sam's Dank Means always posts, "Oh, Jim's off this time. We better not get, Sagalo or Ian Fidance." Right. He's just blatantly like, please don't get us like this. So
maybe they listen to Miguel, Jim and Sam Dank Means. Maybe they listen to him. But I think this time, without having a guest co-host, it was a great listen on Thursday. I mean, like, talking about how much they like, you can tell they like having Coop on the mic. Great. You got Sam, Troy, Travis, Coop, just chatting it up like a couple hens, and I loved it.
It's one of my favorite times. We've talked about it many times. It's just the guys talking, and things just come up organically, and they just talk about it. I mean, they spent so much time on the we might bring it up here a little bit too, but so much time on the Chris Hansen and his new Predator show that it just comes up, and they talk about it, and it's just, I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't remember if this might have been with the guys. They might have touched on this with the background acting in these. There was a kind of a clip that I don't think it leaks. I think it was already out, but people didn't notice it. But then they posted online a Disney show with background actors like sitting in the bleachers. It looked terrible.
Yeah,
it looked absolutely awful. And whatever deal they reached, we don't know specifics with the actor strike. We hopefully don't see a lot of it. I think the actors were really, really against that. So it's not ready.
I mean, as we've all talked, AI is here to stay, and we just got to find a way to work around it. And so they, the studios want to be able to, when you do background work, or if they do that, just capture that stuff and then use that same background actor in thousands of things down the road. And so Disney did that a little bit, but just trying some things, and it looked horrible. But I did some background acting work. I wanted to see how the big boys kind of shot stuff. So I kind of said, I'll be. They had a calling cast, open call for this, and I got it. And I just wanted to see how the guys shot things and stuff. So that was kind of fun. My wife and my daughter, and I've shared, my daughter's stuff on posts where she got some good work.
Yeah.
Have done this a lot. And yeah, I mean, they get paid. It's not it's like $100 for the 10-hour days. Nothing. Yeah. They get paid, and then they don't. It's kind of cool to be used, but then if they just get paid $100 one day, and then that one person can be used over and over and over and over again and not get paid, that's kind of crap,
Yeah, no, it's brutal. It's something that had to be straightened out. I got to do some background acting, and I loved it. So I was trying when I was doing stand up for a while. I was trying to also do like TV and stuff. So I opened a Craigslist ad and just went to it. It used to be Comcast's Sports in Chicago. Now it's NBC Sports Chicago, where I wound up working. But I just went there, and it was a commercial for them. And I wound up working with the guy Chuck Garfien, covers the Sox now. But I was younger, and the whole thing is like it's fans' best friend, and they're there to help you. He was fixing a bathroom. He was fixing a bathroom in the house to make it look like a stadium bathroom. There's a long line of guys from like sports jerseys trying to use the bathroom, and I was in front. I was in front of the line, probably I was like second or third in, or maybe I was even the first in. But they're like, the director's like, you really have to go to the bathroom. Act like you have to go back. So I'm jumping up and down like I have to pee, and that was my big commercial moment. I think I can still find that. I also got to do my.
Maybe you can post it here if you have it.
I can find it. I gotta look. That might be a tricky one. But my buddy's stepsister did casting in Hollywood. She's working on Bold and the Beautiful. So we went on a trip there, and me, him, and our other buddy were just background actors in the Bold and the Beautiful. So not too bad.
I love it. And then they have a derogatory comment for us that we are props, living props. That's how they think about it. Like, get those props over there, move these guys around. They're not real people.
Don't have a name.
No.
So when they were talking about Predator stuff, which this new show sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely amazing. It got, would you say, discussed or broached that Coop wanted to be a decoy? Or
yeah, he brought it up. He goes, I could do that. And like, yeah, you would be probably good at it. You're young looking. Your voice hasn't changed much. And Coop's like, no, not really. And he could do that. And he goes, yeah, I actually looked into it. They're like, what? Yeah, he wanted to do it. And he said that he had to be 21 to do it. So now he definitely could do it because he's over 21. But yeah, they had to do that. So that would be fun. What I'd like to see is a little bit of a Jim and Sam kind of thing where they use Coop as a decoy for something.
I would love that. I would love for him to actually book being a decoy on that show. It would be the best thing since Jim and Sam bar rescue, since Edgar was on Celebrity Ghost Stories. It would be amazing. My head would explode. So I hope that happens. Speaking of TV, they're talking about 90s kids show theme songs, and this was my jam. I mean, Kid Rock Doug, that was awesome. I remember like some of these shows I hadn't thought of it forever. Eureka's Castle, shows like that. They didn't touch on the greatest of all time, the X-Men, the animated the series theme song. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. That was amazing.
I feel very much like Jim in this segment that we're talking about right here, because although I know some of this stuff, this is my lost era. This is my 20s, you know. So I don't have a lot of that stuff. I wasn't young enough for that. But I appreciate it, and the music is great behind it. And that just got them talking, because I think all this came about because they're talking about the new Ghostbusters trailer and then has a lot of 80s music in it. So they started talking about that, and then they did the old Crossfire commercial, which is that toy. And I had to look it up and take a look at it. And they're right. They're talking about how they made toys back then look like they were the best, the funnest thing to play, and they're just crap.
Yeah.
You know, you thought you were going to go to war when you played that. And it was really crap. And then they went into, you know, malls in the 80s and going to the mall. And like, do you remember like Spencer's Gifts? They talked about that too. Did they have one here? Did you go to a Spencer's Gifts when you were younger?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I absolutely. I don't want to take it from you. Were you going to get to Montone's commentary with the Spencer's?
No, go ahead. Tell me.
I forgot. He just loved it. And this is kind of, it's not my line of the week, so I'm just gonna say he hopefully not taking yours, but no. He was talking about how they were joking that he liked the nude cards you could get at Spencer's, and that he goes, absolutely, you could kill an hour in there.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first porn before porn for them. Yeah, that was weird. And going to the mall, I mean, we had this place called Cinderella City in Englewood, Colorado, and the basement or the first level of this mall, they had it Cinder Alley, and it looked like an alley. And oh my God, it was scary to go down there. It's dimly lit. And, you know, that's where all the bad, and they talked about how scary. I mean, we're going there without any parental supervision just to hang out at the mall. Yeah, some crazy stuff that could happen at the mall there. So yeah, that was good. And spending, you know, Spencer's Gifts was where you would go and spend a lot of time. And, you know, your parents wouldn't really want you to go in there because it was somewhat R-rated.
It was definitely R-rated for adults. We don't really have to dissect this, but it was funny to hear, you know, when movies don't hold up, Troy's fiance asked if Rocky is a slow adult. I mean,
and Adrian.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of understand. That movie is, to me, that movie holds up. It's so cool that
it holds up.
Sly won an Oscar for writing it. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, and he wouldn't, just a little background history, he wrote it and he wouldn't release it, or, you know, he wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, onto his last, you know, can of dog food eating just to stay to his gun. So it worked out well for him, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's get the best guess. I have a very strong opinion on best guess this week. Someone's like Mateo Lane, Sam level enchanted me. So let's go through the guests. We had Mike Feeney, Donnell Rawlings, Greg Stone. Greg brought his friend Nathan McIntosh, and Steve-O. We know Steve-O. So who'd you think was the best this week? You want to break down the guys?
Yeah, I'll bring a little bit about them. I mean, Mike Feeney talked about watching Band of Brothers, which is close to my heart because of the World War II, our World War II dads podcast that I do. And then he's taping 4 rooms in the Comedy Cellar and editing and directing himself, which is incredible. And then Donnell, God, what incredible with Chappelle stuff. And that actually he has a good relationship with Kid Rock, which you wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had, you know, Greg Stone and Greg Stone's outdated website, which was extremely funny. It's like 15 years old and hasn't changed it much. Nathan was cool. And then Steve-O has a very odd mixture of stand-up and, you know, jackass type stuff in his special that Sam really enjoyed talking to him about. So, you know, why don't you go first with who your favorite guest was?
There is somebody that I think is taking or is about to take Jim and Sam and their fans by storm, and that guy's name is Mike Feeney. He, to me, he is the best on that podcast. Here's the scenario. He has a big following on Instagram. It's like over 100,000 followers. I just feel like he's got this like a great voice, great authentic voice, and it doesn't sound like too much of a put on. He's smart, super funny. I just think he's great on the show. I thought his stories, his takes, it was a phenomenal appearance. I'm very impressed with Mike Feeney. I think he could be a huge comic.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great on the shows when he's been on there, and he talked about witnessing an Ian and Jordan fight, walking down the jetway of the plane, which was a hilariously telling. I'm kind of torn. I really liked Donnell's appearance because it was interesting to me, but he has a little bit of a superiority kind of vibe. Sometimes it felt like
sometimes,
So I wasn't sure if that he was my favorite. I do like this. I just think Steve-O was very kind. He really didn't think that Sam was going to watch his whole special, and Sam didn't think he was going to watch it at first. So for me, I liked Steve-O's appearance, and because it's just outside. I mean, if you remember, he was going to get breast implants the last time he was on the show. So he's got weird things going on. So yeah, I go with Steve for me.
That makes sense. All right, line of the week. I got one. You got one?
I got two, but you go ahead and go, and then I'll see what time we have left.
Mine was when they were trying to get headphones, and they, giving Travis grief for pretending to go look upstairs for headphones. And Travis was like, you know what, the ones you want, I think they're at home. And then they're joking, oh yeah, you just want to go home. And Jim goes, oh yeah, the headphones are right behind my naked wife.
Exactly. You go get them, then there they are. You just want to go home.
My line of the week, man.
That's great. For me, my line of the week was when they're talking to Greg Stone about his outdated website. Sam discovered that there is an album that he had on for sale there, and Sam goes like, "Hey, man, when did you do that album there?" And Greg said, the day after 9/11. And Jim was so quick, he said, "Oh, you wanted to prove that there are worse things." Love that one. And then really quick here, we're running out of time. Sam was explaining to Jim about the candy bars, that he took, the 5 candy bars. And he said, yeah, I got a Snickers for my wife. And Jim was quick to say, so she could have something in her life that satisfies. Another great line. So good stuff.
Awesome stuff. And awesome stuff from you, Chris. Thanks for all you do behind the scenes. And thank you all for watching and listening.
Yeah, great time. Great week. Can't wait until next week. And I think we might have some special things coming up on our podcast soon. So we're looking forward to that as well. And please join us every week here in the Town Square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.